design our outreach for this particular group of folk, and based on my experience, that'll attract other people as well. But if you look at where it says Asbury 2017, take a look at some of the demographics on there. Bettendorf and LeClaire area are growing, and they're continuing to grow. And two of the biggest groups that are growing are empty nesters and young professionals. And only 20% of these folks feel it's important to attend religious services. Now, you may have heard some statistics 5, 6, 7 years ago that said 33%. Guess what? That's shrinking. 15% say their faith is really important to them. 15. That means 85% of the people don't say that. Friends, we're right in the middle of a mission field. Right in the middle of a mission field. Our new vision then moves to the outward focus, to passionately serve in the world because God so loved the world. Read it with me. To passionately serve in the world because God so loved the world. To that, now we've added 4 strategies, and those build on each other. We need to continue the good work that we've done. We can't just set it aside, but we have what I call continuous improvement. Now, you're going to hear me use the word RAD, R-A-D, and that's shorthand for reflect, adjust, and do. Can you say it with me? Reflect, adjust, and do. It's an evaluation system. It gives us feedback and helps us continuously improve because the world continues to shift, and we need to continue to shift the way we approach the world because it's continuing to move. These strategies focus us outwardly, and they build on each other. Okay? So the first one's going to feel pretty comfortable to you because we actually do that pretty well. Always room for improvement. Fostering hope in Christ through grace. By the way, did you notice that the strategy spelled feed? Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Feed the world. I just thought that was fun. Foster hope in Christ through grace. One of the things we talked about last year was called a discipleship pathway. And this work continues. It's ongoing. It's building those relational processes to help move people into deeper engagement with their faith journey. That's a pathway that says that we don't want people to stagnate where they are. We want them to continue to grow in Christ. And how do we bridge them into those ministries so that they continue to grow in Christ? And the key word there is bridge. Pay attention to bridge. So what did we do with the old vision statement? We have not abandoned it. What we've done is repurposed it. This is more properly to be used in-house on our own processes and systems. And so the discipleship team has picked this up. It looks very much like the old statement, except for one thing. Did you notice what's added? Bridge. Because that's the pathway, and that's what discipleship team and the 3 age ministry teams, children's ministry, youth and young adult ministries, and adult ministries are working on discipleship pathways, bridging people into ministries that will help them grow. So they have repurposed that and are developing that under that continuous improvement, always ratting. Now y'all recognize this statement, and Nathan alluded to it. This is the 6th time I have told you this. It might stick eventually. Engaging more adults in ministry supports the general mission of the church, which is to make disciples. We get all hung up on youth and children, but the reality is this is the ministry that makes the most difference. And you alluded to that, Dave, when you said people are engaged in small groups. So let me show you the statistics that come from the church. This is from 2011 to 2016. Now, I know how Linda counts these folk. Linda Manning counts by name, not by attendance. So if you belong to 6 groups, you get counted once. Okay, so that means that we have over doubled the number of people engaging in at least one small group during the year. Doubled. That's not the one that gets the stats and the press, but I want you to know it. And I think that has significant impact on where this church is spiritually, because our adults are engaging in the Word and they're engaging in service. So this ministry is an example of a continuous improvement process, what I call RAD. Because this year, each year they've added to it, and Jean, where's Jean Black? Jean, if you have any questions, ask Jean. She's the chair of adult ministries. But this year they've added the request that each group do one service inside the church and one service outside the walls of the church. You see how that outward focus is already shifting in what they're doing? Now, young adult ministries, this is something we don't have right now specifically as a category. And so when we hired Pat, Pat has a passion not only for youth but for young adults. And so he has been hired for up to 15 hours a week. Now let me explain what that means. That means when he's in school, he's supposed to be in school. Now what he's doing now is he's putting in time this summer to get things started off and grounded, and then he's to spend time on his seminary studies, because it does us no good if he flunks out of seminary, right? So we want him to do well. So that's why we wrote it the way we did, up to 15 hours a week. He is given permission to put in less because his studies will take first priority. But in his work, right now his first priority is the youth ministry development. And he's working in collaboration with Linda Manning. They're actually sharing an office. That was very intentional. They're sharing an office and they're going to collaborate. And he's beginning to connect with some of our young adults. That's on his to-do list, to see what we can get going in our young adult age group. That's that 25 to 45. We've actually expanded it a little bit more to be more intentional. Now, Pat is also going to facilitate and equip lay-led youth ministries. And that is, I want you to hear those words: facilitate and equip. He is not going to do the ministry. That's to be done by the leadership that are part of the youth ministry team. So part of our RAD in this area this year is that a part-time focused staff person is going to be more effective than simply adding this piece of the job description to the associate pastor's plate. It is not proven to be as effective as we want it to be. Pat happened to come along at just the right time. So this is why we did what we did. The associate pastor, Pastor Heather, will still be in charge of confirmation. And she's working in partnership with Pat. Pat's going to be working with the first-year confirmation students in partnership with Damon Raker. And Pastor Heather will be teaching the second-year confirmation students. And she's looking for a partner to do that. Do you hear the word partner, 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 partner? Y'all hang on to that, because we'll get to that in a minute. Part of what Pat is doing then is developing the leadership team. He's also making sure that those ministries get integrated. So whether you're here on a Wednesday or a Sunday, it's part of an integrated ministry program. And the intentional discipleship pathways to make sure that as our kids come up from 4th and 5th grade, they're moved into the middle school youth ministries. And as they move from middle school to high school, we hang on to them a little bit longer and integrate them into that ministry as well. So he's got a lot of work to do. Y'all pray for Pat and what he's doing. Now, one of the things we do really well in this church and always have is children's ministries. They are our flagship and our strength. I will tell you that right up front. The team is still leading in some very innovative changes and approaches to ministry. One of the things that was initiated by children's ministry is the understanding that we can't just do ministry to children. That we have to find ways to integrate the whole family into that, because it's not an individual, it's a whole family system. And one of the ways to help parents who have younger children become integrated into the church is to get them started in children's ministry and then find ways to bridge them into adult ministries for their own spiritual growth. So if you'll remember, this year we had 2 Grace events in 2017, I think. One was the Kids Against Hunger. We had folks from all over the place come to that. Do you remember? Is Michelle here? Who knows how many folks we had? And Christy, do you remember? We had over 300 people involved. 300. Those weren't all Asbury folks. Those came from all over. We had the mariachi band here because Rich Clark, who's our drummer for the praise band, has started that mariachi group. in his school, is it Glendale, is that right? Glenview. And he brought them. So relationship, relationship, relationship. One of the other events that we did this summer, we hired a bus and we went to the animal rescue place in Long Grove. That was a hoot. I didn't get to go. My granddaughters did. They had a ball. And so did the adults, by the way. And the thing that's really cool is they're listening for ideas, not from y'all, but from the children. So the children become part of the laity who lead the direction of the ministry. Ah, brilliant. Well done. Anything you want to add, Christy or Nancy, to catch all that?
I think it was just great, the support of the entire church. It just wasn't one area, one children's ministry. We had support from the entire church, and it was great to see everyone come together to make a successful event for the kids go.
So what she said, for those who are maybe watching this online, it was great to see the church come together, collaborate with each other, partner with each other to make this event cool. I want you to hang on to that because we're going to talk about that next in a few minutes. So thank you. Thanks for the good segue. I'm going to use it. One of the other pieces that we've been working on is our caring congregation. You guys may not realize this, but our parish nurses are on cutting edge ministry. They're doing cutting edge ministry, and Carol's sitting right here, so I'm going to embarrass her. They won the very first Focus Award given by Unity Point for outstanding ministry. You bet. If you have not experienced the ministry that Carol and Brenda are doing, it's because you're healthy. Yay! Exactly. Any guess how many number of contacts per month in this year to date? How many average contacts per month are made by the pastoral care team? Not just Brenda and Carol, but also Heather and I and our visiting ministries folks. How many average contacts a month? 40?
300.
Not quite. 108. 108 contacts on the average month. This is something that's a hidden ministry, necessarily so because it's confidential. As our health system gets more complex and rules get more complex, that means there are opportunities for our people to fall in the cracks. And so what Brenda and Carol end up spending a whole bunch of their time on is advocacy. Making sure that you're meeting the Medicare criteria so that you don't have to pay for the services. Making sure that you actually get admitted to the hospital, because if they put you on observation, Medicare won't pay for it. There's a whole bunch of things like that they have in their head. That's all I remember. But as the system gets more complex, they're using more and more of their time to be advocates, not only for our members, but for other people for whom we care. We have other people for whom we visit and care that they also look out for at somebody's request. So there's still more work that needs to be done in this area, because I got to tell you, in order to have stable congregational care, you can't count on your pastors to do that, because pastors come and go, because we're United Methodists. That's how that works. But the best way to do that is to have a team of people doing a variety of things. And one of the things we've been trying to get at and haven't had the resources to get at is develop that caring congregation where the congregation takes care of each other during normal circumstances. And pastors and parish nurses take care of things that need a little bit more expertise. So we're hoping now that this will free up a little more time to help us develop that by hiring Pat and shifting that youth ministry to a specific staff. We're working on ways to get that going. And y'all just pray that the system doesn't get any worse, because that's where Carol and Brenda spend most of their time. Any questions, comments, or insights before we move to the next strategy? This one felt pretty good, didn't it? Yeah. There's always ratting. Reflect, adjust, and do. Hi, Ben. He's so fun. Anything? Let me tell you, that is the gift of life, to hear a baby laugh like that. That's awesome. Remember I said remember partnerships and relationships? Our second strategy is to enhance partnerships within Asbury as we serve together. This is still inside work that we need to continue to do. This is building sinews and muscles and putting those bones together, the relationship processes that need to continue. So let me just say a little bit about team, because the church is notorious for silos. Y'all know what a silo is, right? Where everybody kind of stores their own corn in their own thing. And we need to find a way to tap into that corn a little bit better for the resources. So let's flesh out what it means for this strategy. This is an internal relationship and process so that we are more effective in reaching out to those people who are not here yet, and then assimilating and sending out into ministry those who are here. Right? That means that at the very least, we have got to work in team. And what Patrick Lencioni is saying, he's a secular writer, he's not a church writer. What he's saying is we need in this world today to know how to work in team. We have good entrepreneurs here, but if we don't know how to work in team in today's culture, we're not going to make it. And there are specific behaviors that we need to develop. It's a vulnerability-based trust. That's healthy conflict. You notice it doesn't say absence of conflict? If there's an absence of conflict, somebody's lying. It's just that simple. But how do we take a hold of differences and work our way through them effectively? Active commitment. As our folks